Hey everyone, it's Joe Waxman, and I'm back with another video. It's been a while. Um, I took a long break from making videos. I mean, not that long relatively, but over the winter. It was a long winter, rough winter. A lot has changed since then. Let's see. If I'm recording this on my iPad, which I had to get because I had an accident with my computer, and I lost the screen. The screen broke. Some water got into it. So if it looks like I'm not looking directly at the camera, it's because the camera's on the side, and I wanted to have the side view, the panoramic view, instead of the vertical view for the video, and so it's tilting. If you understand what I'm saying, the camera's not directly overhead, so it makes me look like I'm looking to the right. But anyway, that's a small point. Um, I've been pretty busy. I got my work shirt on, CCS Center Seaside, because I've been working a lot. But anyway, uh, somebody wrote a comment in one of my videos that said that they wanted me to make some more videos, which was it was a really nice comment, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, but I've been thinking about making videos, and but I didn't want to make more astrology videos, and the video that they commented on was not an astrology video. It's not that I don't want to make more astrology videos, it's that I wanted to change it up and talk about other things, and I was just kind of hesitant, but this kind of just inspired me to go ahead and make this video. And this video is called Veganism, Animal Food, and the Principle of Health. So, I'm a pretty diverse guy. I don't just do astrology. It's number one, I'm a Gemini. Number two, my Mercury is loosely conjunct Jupiter, which makes me think big picture and philosophical. And so I don't like to overly focus on one thing. That's what I'm trying to get at. So like some people can just do astrology videos. I like to talk about lots of things. Things that I grew up with. I grew up with around food a lot. Food and philosophy and spirituality. Dialectics, yin yang, and astrology came out of that too, because archetypes, yin and yang, are basic archetype of two. There's all different systems. Number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Western astrology is a 12 number system, but there's all different ones, and basically they're all different archetypes. So anyway, I do have a strong history around food. I grew up with food. My father started the first health food store in Philadelphia, so I was around the food, the natural health food, macrobiotic food community for my whole life. Like, my father's a macrobiotic teacher and counselor. I studied that, so I know about food is what I'm trying to get at. So that's why I'm interested in food and qualified to talk about food. And one of the things that I've had to deal with, excuse me, or been around for my whole life is veganism, and this idea of veganism, and that's why what I wanted to talk about. Veganism, animal food, and the principle of health is what I'm calling it. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a little throat cold. I had a sore throat for a little while. So veganism is an ideology primarily. People think it's a diet. It's actually more of an ideology, because a vegan can go and excuse me, I was talking to me and cough. A vegan will go and eat, fish or chicken in private, and still be a vegan, right? Because veganism is an ideology that says, I do not eat animal food. I do not eat animal products, or I do not even wear animal products, right? It's like, plants are good, animals bad, to consume, right? And the belief around that is that it's to prevent animal suffering, because they believe that if you partake in eating animal food, that you're contributing to the suffering of animals. it's a rather simplistic notion, if you ask me, because there's the belief that animals in the wild are better off, and that anytime we use animals, whether it's seemingly in an abusive relationship or a healthy relationship, that it's harming the animals. And that's, I mean, patently absurd. I mean, that's just absurd. That's ridiculous. That's a childish notion. I mean, just go live in. I mean, there's the simple solution: go live in the wild. Go strip off your clothes. Go live in the wild and see how easy it is. You'd have to find food, and you'd have to fight off all the predators. Animals, I mean, that's basically what it is. Like, animals starve in the winter. They get hunted by animals, by predators, by wolves, by foxes, by, depending on where they are, lions, tigers, bears. Excuse me. I was in Alaska for a while, living in a log cabin in the winter. And we would put food in a compost bin, and a moose, baby moose, wasn't a baby, it was a young moose, juvenile moose, every day would come and raid our compost bin and eat out of it. It wouldn't have been that hard to domesticate the moose. All we'd have to do is build a fence, and slowly he would get used to coming in and out of the fence, create an opening, and he would get in the habit of coming in, and then we could trap him, and then, but he would be happy because he would be fed, and we could feed him. And that's basically how animal domestication began, is because animals were hungry and humans had food, and they knew that they could get food from humans, and that's a good relationship, especially if they're well treated and they're protected from other predators, right? Now, it's only give and take. If we take something from them in return but treat them well, that's not harming them. If we're taking, especially their dairy, right? Or in the case of chickens, eggs, right? So this idea that, animals are always harmed by utilizing them is wrong. I mean, it's just a silly idea. So from that point of view, veganism doesn't make sense. And number two, health-wise, there's no long-standing culture that's been vegan. I know some vegans claim, well, there's this group in the mountain. No. PETA did a propaganda piece about some mountain people that were like similar to the Hunzas, that's claiming that they're vegan. They're not vegan. They were animal shepherds. They ate meat and dairy. They had some religious or cultural practices. Sorry, should have gotten some water. That PETA skewed to say that they were vegan. Sorry, the light from my computer screen just went off. They weren't vegan. So there's no long-standing vegan culture in history. For good reason, that basically we need some small amount of animal food for our health, for nutrition. Now, you can get away with it through supplementation, through B12, and mainly B12 is the main thing. But I mean, I guess there are some other ones. I don't even know. Like, I'm not even. B12 would be the main thing, but just energy in general, getting enough minerals. I don't always look at nutrition. I look at the effects of foods, but animal food will give you. It's easy to become nutritionally depleted on a vegan diet, and that's fairly common with vegans. Number one thing is the B12 deficiency, and that can lead to atherosclerosis. Basically, B12 is involved in the thinning of the. It helps to clear out the arteries. I'm not sure of the exact science behind that, but without B12, they get atherosclerosis, meaning that they get built up plaques around their arteries, and then they can get strokes and heart attacks. That happens, actually, believe it or not. It's people don't realize that, but vegans get strokes and heart attacks easily through B12 deficiency. The other thing that happens through B12 deficiency is nerve damage. People get nerve damage and neurological nervous system damage, like permanent. It can permanently damage your nerves, and I know that's happened to people. I know someone who's had that happen to them. I myself, even though I wasn't a vegan, I've never been a vegan. I didn't eat plenty of animal food, and I was, smoking cigarettes and drinking a lot of alcohol, and I have done damage to my nerves because I probably wasn't eating enough animal food at that time. So for health reasons, also being vegan is not ideal. And then there's this idea that animals are more conscious than vegetables, which I agree with. Animals are more conscious than vegetables, and therefore, but there's this thinking that because animals are more conscious, that we have to be more protective of them. But what they're missing out is the self, the human body, their own body, which is the primary concern of everyone regarding health. That this animal, this human body, is even a level above any other animal. In other words, to not harm a cow or a pig or a chicken or fish, only to harm yourself, that's even worse. I mean, that's again absurd. That's even worse. From a karmic perspective, if you say like, well, it's bad karma to hurt cows and sheep and pigs, and I agree with that. But if you're hurting yourself by not taking what you need, that's even worse. And they do. Even if you're getting by supplementation enough nutrition, you could do that for a while. But still the ideology behind it is that it is better not to eat animal food than to eat animal food. And I don't agree with that. People need animal food for their health. Small amounts usually. I'm not like a carnivore. I'm an omnivore technically, but I'm not a paleo or keto guy. Like I don't, I'm not one of these guys that just like eat lots of meat and organ meats and all that stuff. Like, no, I don't even. Meat doesn't actually. I don't digest meat very well, so I don't really like meat. I've eaten meat. I've tried meat. I've experimented with meat. I'm more of a fish guy. Some eggs, occasionally. Not much, some dairy, but mostly for nutritional purposes, right? But so vegans end up hurting themselves. They ignore the whole idea of veganism is like don't eat animal food. But so even if they need animal food, this ideology is running them. They're not being run by experience or health or anything like that. They're being run by this ideology first. They're putting the ideology over their own health. And that's not healthy. I mean, we have to be sensitive. We have to listen to our body. We have to know when we need something and when we don't need something, right? That's health. I mean, this ideology that says no animal food. And that's a static thing, right? And it's not taking into account different times, different, situations, different anything. It's a kind of religious cultish mindset that says it's better not to eat animal food. Now how do you make sense of all the people who are eating animal food? That they're less conscious, less worthy, less human, They're not as evolved. They're not as bright. They're not as intelligent. They're not as humane. They're not as compassionate because they're not strictly avoiding all animal food. You know, even animals that are clearly better off with under human care than they would be in the wild. I mean, that doesn't make sense. So veganism, from all these perspectives, it's an immature ideology. It's static, and it doesn't take into account change or life or care for the self. It's just don't eat animal food. Vegetables. And by the way, like if we're talking about karma, right? Like we could put it in perspective of karma. Like there's negative karma to eat meat. That's why I don't eat meat. Or there's negative karma to eat any animal food. That's why I don't eat. They act like vegetables are theirs for the taking, and it's like vegetables are, you know, like all plants are it's an all you can eat, you know, smorgasbord. Like all the plants are theirs, all the plants are mine, you know, which is ridiculous. Plants do not live for us. They are not, you know, rice and wheat do not grow to be eaten by humans. That's not why they exist. They exist for their. If you're sensitive to plants, which I kind of assume most vegans are not, because otherwise they would realize this. But if you're sensitive to plants, like you are to animals, then you know that plants exist for their own benefit. Like, I have sensitivity towards plants. I have sensitivity towards animals. I love animals. I love plants. I have tons of plants. I take good care of my plants. And if my plants suffer, I have empathy and compassion for them. Right? I don't just take for granted that the plants are mine. All the plants. Like, it's nothing. Like, there's karma in eating plants is my point. There's karma in, you know, no matter what you do. There's karma in taking life. There's karma in breathing. Right? You know, we're taking life just by breathing. Yeah. So, there's karma taking place. You can't just take plants. Plants are not here for us to just, you know, take advantage of and stuff our face with. Yeah, there's karma in everything. We're talking about karma, right? So, you know, this idea that can't eat any animals, but we can just shove my face with plants all day long. That's stupid. It's just ignorant. It's immature, right? It's an immature ideology. So, yeah. Or like, I've heard that dairy's not meant for humans. No, it's not. But nothing is meant for humans. I mean, it's foolish to think that, like, okay, I've heard like some Christians say, well, God meant for all these plants and animals and whatever they say for us. Okay, that's just childish, right? Everything exists for its own self. If you're really sensitive to nature, you can feel everything wants to live, just like we want to live, you know? Like, spiders want to live, roaches want to live, plants want to live, fish want to live, microbes want to live. Everything just wants to live. It wants to experience life. These things are not for us. They don't have our name on them, right? Like carrots and potatoes and corn, they don't have meant for humans to eat. No, that's not why they exist. Yeah, we have bred them, but they've also bred us. Like, you know, like, it's not a one-way relationship, right? It's not like we created, you know, we created sweet apples out of crab apples. Yeah, maybe we did, but sweet apples created us too, because food affects us, right? All the food that we eat created us. So like all the rice and the wheat and the corn and the fish and the vegetables, they all created us too. So we're creating each other. So it's not like one's creating the other exclusively. We're creating each other. It's a relationship. We have this dynamic relationship with food that goes back tens of thousands of years or even longer. Who knows? I mean, our history is all screwed up, so we don't really know how long, but long time, right? So, yeah. So, I mean, that as far as for the veganism thing, that's pretty much it. Animal food, like, as Americans, we have a very messed up relationship with animal food because of the animal food industry. Most people don't realize this, but Americans' dietary habits have been largely influenced by the animal food industry. The same way that everything else, through commercialism, through lobbies, through, they're trying to make a profit. We eat way too much animal food, way too much, and it causes all kinds of diseases, right? So everything is in moderation. I mean, I eat mostly a plant-based diet, and I think plant-based diet is the healthiest, not veganism. Small amounts of animal food when you need it. So yeah, and there's one caveat to that, which I'm pretty strong about. It's that I think, like, basically, so I called this veganism, animal food, and the principle of health, and I might as well mention what the principle of health is. This is my principle of health. Take what you need when you need it, but do not take more than you need, right? So that means animal, vegetable, mineral. Take what you need when you need it, but do not take more than what you need. That's the principle of health. That's my principle of health in this context, right? I'm not trying to make some new philosophy or anything. This is I just came up with it for this video because it's a general principle that I think is more evolved than veganism, which says don't eat animal food. That's their principle of food. It's like, no animal food. Like, it's immature. Take what you need when you need it, but do not take more than you need, right? And that covers so much, right? Because if you need to eat animal food for your health, for your well-being, for your energy, right? And we all know, people know intuitively, if you need physical energy, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times it's going to come from something like fish, eggs, dairy, or especially a lot of people turn to meat, right? Salmon is a great fish for energy, by the way, because it has equal levels of creatine that meat does. A lot of people don't know that, but and it's got to be fresh salmon, not canned salmon, right? But both salmon and meat have the same levels of creatine, and herring, by the way, which is interesting. But you can't really get herring, fresh herring here. You can only get that in Northern Europe, Holland and places like that. Which I was in Holland, and the matches, they call it matches, which you can get on the street. Excellent. But if you don't eat meat, but you want the energy, go for fresh salmon and lightly cook it. Don't overcook it, because that destroys the creatine. And if you're eating meat for energy, don't overcook the meat, because that also destroys the creatine. But so that's the principle. Take what you need when you need it, but not more than you need. And most Americans, they take way more than they need of meat. They take, excess, and they're eating sensorially, and it's making them fat and lazy and stupid and sick. That's not healthy at all, right? I'm not an advocate for that in any way, shape, or form. And there's one animal food that I don't think anyone needs at all, ever, and that is pigs. That is pork products, bacon, sausage, all the pork products. Here's why. Nutritionally, you don't need it. If you need something like that, you can go for beef. And why is beef better than pork? Number one, energetically, pigs are omnivores, right? And just like we don't eat dogs and cats, especially in the West, we don't eat lions, we don't eat wolves, we don't eat predatory animals because the nature of that. If you think about herbivores versus carnivores, the carnivores have a built-in aggression to them that makes them dominant over herbivores. But if you're eating a carnivore, that makes you a super predator. That's not civilized. You shouldn't be living in civilization if you're eating carnivorous animals. Well, a pig is in between. So if you eat a pig, you're already taking on this energy of being a super predator, right? Because you're eating an animal that eats other animals. So Just think about this for a second. Carnivores eat herbivores. Carnivores do not eat other carnivores. You don't have lions hunting. They will hunt. They will hunt pigs, but pigs can even be dangerous. But they don't hunt um, other carnivores to eat. They will kill them for like territorial things, but not to eat. Like lions don't eat hyenas. They will kill them for over territory issues. But they're not going to hunt it for dinner. They hunt herbivores. That's the reason, because of that dynamic. That's their balance, the yin yang, the male female principle, right? And that's something I studied my whole life, the natural balance of things, the yin yang. And that's what we need to stick with. It's very important having that polarity. That's why eating pigs, that's why billions of people around the world don't eat pigs. I mean, literally billions. All the Muslims and all the Indians, the Hindus, right? And the Jews. The Jews are only like 16 million, but they recognize something about pigs that not only they're unclean, but they're omnivores. That they'll eat any animal that they can get their hands on, including humans. So energetically, it's not. They're too aggressive animals, and it makes you greedy. It makes you fat and greedy. People who eat a lot of pigs look like pigs. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but they do. They get fat. You can always tell somebody who loves pork. They look like a pig, and they become very clever, but in a greedy way, right? They always look like, because pigs have this endless appetite. They're always like looking for food. That's their nature, right? They just always want to consume. And people who eat a lot of pork become extremely greedy for material wealth and gathering, stuff and food. They just want to eat all the time and gather as much, and they become like very clever about how to get more and more and more. Take. It's very low level, low vibrational food. If you want to lower your vibrations, by a lot, eat pork. Pork's number one. That's the lowest vibration. You don't need it for health. You don't need it for nutrition. So the only reason people eat pork is sensorial. So that's why there's negative karma for pork, because there's no need. Remember my principle of health: take what you need when you need it, but not more than you need. But you never need to eat pork. So you're always eating it for sensory. So there's loads of karma, negative karma for eating pork, right? That's why Muslims and Hindus and Jews don't eat pork. There's too much negative karma. There's no plus side in eating pork. There's none. You don't need it for anything. Like if you need that kind of energy, you can eat beef. And beef is nutritionally superior, energetically superior. Cows are pure herbivores. So if you eat it, there's a much energetically, you're creating a much more balanced dynamic. And I'm not an advocate for eating a lot of meat. I don't think anyone needs to eat a lot of meat. But if you need some meat for energy, some people feel they need to eat meat. They were vegan for a long time, or vegetarian, or just ate fish, and they feel like they didn't have enough energy, and so they need to eat meat. I myself, I've experimented with meat just to make sure. Like, am I missing out? Do I need meat? Am I harming myself by not eating? No, not really. No, I prefer fish, and like I said, a little bit of eggs once in a while, a little bit of dairy. I'm very specific about what I eat as far as animal food goes. I do like some animal food, but I'm very picky and minimal. But yeah, if you need to eat meat, just only eat as much as you need when you need it, and that's it. And stick to cow meat. Cook it, lightly cook it. Don't overcook it. While we're on the subject, like, don't grill or fry anything that's like burning or searing. Don't do that, because that's just carcinogenic. I mean, there's no argument about it. It's carcinogenic. Buy fresh meat, cook it wet, cook it in a stew. Then you're not creating the carcinogens, because you're not burning the fat. You're not oxidizing it. I mean, that's just straight up science. There's no argument. There's no area to that. You can look it up. It's easy to verify. You're creating carcinogens anytime you burn fat. So if you want to give yourself cancer, then do all the grilling, barbecuing, searing, all that smoking, like, or all that, all that stuff that people love, that causes cancer. It's just straight up cancer. So cook it wet. You're much better off. Cook it wet with beans, grains, vegetables, all the other stuff, and you're much better off. So yeah, and same thing with fish. I don't eat fried fish. I don't eat fried anything. Frying is really bad for you. It creates cancer. Fried vegetables create cancer. Fried fish creates cancer. Fried meat, fried anything. Anytime you have like the fire and oil together without water, that's cancer. Just think cancer. Anytime there's burning fat or close to burning fat or fat, fat cooking, that's cancer food, right? So that's pretty much my talk, like, about veganism, animal food, and the principle of health. Take what you need when you need it, but not more than you need. And we need a more static approach than just one size fits all. Don't eat animal food. That's like, it's like, what are you, 5? Like, grow up. Like, people need different things, and sometimes people need animal food. I mean, it's like, and there's no getting around, like, taking life. We take life. Plants, if you can't live without taking some kind of life, right? Like, plants are not yours. You don't own plants. They don't have your name on them. Like, stop thinking like it's a free-for-all with plants, and that you can just eat as much plants as you want without any, retribution. It's not true. There's karma for eating plants. There's karma for eating meat. There's karma for everything. There's karma for living. So get over it. You're creating karma no matter what you do. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to make different videos about different things. I'm going to get into karma and spirituality and consciousness, because that's what I'm interested in. That's what I'm going to talk about. And if I'm going to make videos, I'm going to do it about things that really interest me and that are on my mind. And like I said, I'm a Gemini. I don't stick to one thing. I'm multiple minded, if you will. I think I like to think about all different kinds of things. So anyway, that's it for now, guys. And I will see you again soon. Alrighty, bye.